yes, it would have to come every year.
Motion to approve KB 043-22.
That's not what we want to have. That's not the intent of this, is to bring it back every year.
Right, so that's why I could easily add the word, instead of one-time payment, it would be like a yearly, fiscal yearly, long yearly payment of $275.
That's not what it says right now.
No,
Right, which I'm saying I could change, but it doesn't match up with the policies and
it was
procedures.
supposed to do two things. One, to be able to insert the payment amount instead of it being divided by the number of eligible people. We're supposed to do that to set the amount,
Of $275.
and the other part was to be able to process these payments directly to the seniors
Right,
instead of a vendor.
which is that. Yes. Which is, that's what,
You're saying it does that?
right,
Okay.
It does, but did you talk about the SSI?
yes, so the
It's in the
reason,
policy,
it's in the
it's
policy,
written in the policy,
which is why it
which it was
says,
before too.
pursuant to the policies and procedures, because an individual who's on SSI can receive a payment if it's not for food or shelter. If anything other than food or shelter, they can receive a direct payment for.
Right.
So that can be car insurance, all that.
Right, so last time it wasn't in the resolution,
It wasn't in the resolution, it was policies and procedures, correct, for SSI?
Correct.
Yeah, doesn't have to be.
So.
They just got a different form, and there was never no, there was no confirmation, it would just depend on whatever they filled out. So there was two applications,
Right,
form
exactly.
one
Right.
was,
It's up to the
The full
individual to
program.
know what they receive.
yeah, the
Correct.
second form was just to select ones that wasn't gonna cover food and shelter.
Correct.
How many
So-
elders we have in Bearden County?
It's 383 that are eligible, correct?
So 383,
I
no,
believe
it's
so.
389,
And that number is increasing yearly.
yeah.
Did you put an end date for eligibility, it just says?
Right.
In
Because
the
that,
original, in the original, policy said June 30th. Yeah, because I mean, like right now, I sent out the applications yesterday, and I'm going by the list from enrollment. However, there could be people eligible that moved here
Right.
between now and the end of the month, and then those people would be eligible.
okay, June 30th.
And then in the past, I don't think, so you utilize the general welfare support resolution, right? Jalen, and that has a pretty substantial committee, but I don't know that you need a committee or a.
Right.
Right, and I talked about that, and we said that that section would be removed.
Yeah.
All right, motion to approve KB 43-2022 with the.
So what was the wording that was changed so that it doesn't have to come back
To
every
make it
year?
an annual one-time payment
Right.
of $750.
Maybe you should just bring it back with the change.
Yes.
And
Clean it
we'll-
up.
Yeah.
You want me to? Okay, because I whipped this thing together in like 2 days, so I'm sorry.
No, it's all right, it just, there's just.
There's a lot.
275, it's not a big deal, it's just,
Right.
if we don't want to have to bring the resolution back every year,
Right,
then it just needs to be tidied up a little bit so it reflects that.
right.
So just bring it back next
Do you,
week.
do you want me to go over the other changes to the policies or keep that till next week?
What are they, so we
Well, might as well go over in case there's questions.
yeah. We
Okay.
already got a question on that, so.
Okay,
Or
so,
we table it.
what I did was, so for the policies section, I just took, I did some research on, rural
We're still
areas,
reviewing it, Eddie.
the elderly living in rural areas, and stuck that in there because, you know,
Okay, where's that at then?
that would be policy and statements, this, just these 3 paragraphs.
Oh, you're, okay.
So, the eligibility and program requirements, nothing was changed there. All that was done was I just fixed made it easier to read and understand.
Okay.
But everything is the same there. Going into the description of services, nutrition services, everything is the same except for instead of using the term will, it says may now because the individual may have the check made out to a third-party vendor, but they also may accept the check if they qualify, so that's why that's there. Under the energy and basic residential, I asked Kim if we should add internet because cable's in there, but nowadays internet is the new cable, so that was added in there. Prescriptions, the only thing again is that's changed is the will went to may. Senior service records, everything's the same except I just made it easier to read. Same with the confidentiality section and the tax consequence section. And then I renamed the section that was named other matters to seniors receiving supplemental security income, where it talks about the current federal regulations. I checked and made sure that the regulations haven't had any significant changes or anything like that. Made sure to define shelter, and then also made sure to have in there the benefits that may be used for individuals on SSI. So that's it.
And that's an important one right there, because we don't want to have somebody penalized.
Right, and that's the thing that is super important is that it's food and shelter that precludes them.
Yeah.
Anything else like gasoline for transportation, car insurance, prescription drugs, telephone, cable, internet, all that stuff will not be considered as income for SSI. So it does not preclude them from receiving the payments as long as they make sure that it's used not for food or shelter.
And for some reason, SSI is a rare one that they can go in your bank account and see what you get.
Right.
So we want to make sure when we do this, that others aren't getting penalized.
Right.
We talk
Well,
about
if
the base.
they get, receive the check, I mean, who's gonna know that they went, bought food versus,
You're not.
My recommendation,
They're counted as income.
well, my recommendation would be if there is an
That's why they
issue
don't get the pension checks.
like that.
You're getting ready to give them money, funds, cash, is that right?
Right.
Yeah,
They will count that
Right,
as
that's,
income for
doesn't a letter
SSI.
have to?
How will they know about it?
The only way they will not
Or
count
give them
it
access to your account when you
No.
sign the.
is if you pre-flight everything to them and they somehow pre-approve
And then they get the
such a
senior
program
and they
as
report it.
being, for food or whatever, or, something other than shelter.
Right, which is why they can still receive the payment as long, the recommendation would be to take advantage of the third-party vendor
yeah.
and have it paid directly.
But I'm just saying, me as a director, I don't verify anything, I go by what they tell me to put in.
Right,
Right.
it's up to them.
So it's up to them, yep,
It's their choice.
yep.
So Eddie, you had a
Pay
motion?
for their cable bill.
I thought this was coming back with a change.
yeah, KB 4322, with the change in section 6A to make it a one-time annual payment of $750 provided by the program shall be available to senior tribal members.
680.
It says program eligibility requirement, that's the only amendment right there. It says the one, make it an annual one-time payment of $750. That's my motion.
Well, then it, yeah,
That's
Well, you
my-
gotta go through the whole document and change all whereas.
I can
and all
just
that stuff.
control F.
And then they can
Yeah.
accept it on a certain, isn't the strategy to accept it on a certain month so it doesn't impact their,
Not this one.
No, this is a different, this is the senior assistance program.
but could it not be adapted to that, so that at least 1 month is impacted and not?
It could be.
This isn't a reoccurring pension throughout the whole year.
No.
It's a
He's
one-time
talking about
One
time.
payment.
He's talking about like the Christmas check and then sometimes those
Susan,
who are
what
on,
was your motion? I
who
didn't
get the
hear your motion.
pension or the retirement get it in November.
Rodney did, I'm
Right, so
sorry.
they
I have a
pay
motion
one time.
for
Right.
043. But then there was the talk to table and bring it
That's what I
back, right,
thought we
which is
were
fine,
doing,
if
yeah.
we're
So
gonna
we
do
were
that.
just gonna
I'll just
correct it.
withdraw my motion.
Motion by Doreen. What was the
Motion to table till it's corrected. Oh, Ron, you have the first motion out there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Ron.
His died of lack of support, mine died of lack of
Motion
support.
by Doreen, supported by Susie to table and bring back next week. All those in favor, say aye.
Someone needs to second that. Oh, okay.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
And then you're gonna bring the corrected
Don't wait for
version
Susan to
back?
take it down.
Thank you.
Motion carries, so you clean it up and bring it back.
And then it doesn't have to come to us every year, once it's corrected. All right, correct.
All right, next up on the agenda is Doreen Blake, our housing director. She has a few items for,
Thank you. The first one is an ERAP amendment to ERAP policy, section 3, eligibility, subsection A, paragraph 1D. And in that currently, applicant eligibility is a KBIC member or member of other federally recognized tribe living in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The second one was rent only, a KBIC member or member of a federally recognized tribal member living in the state of Michigan, and that was an amendment on 8/25/2021. And then KBIC descendant living within tribal lands. The amendment is in red, and it's rent only, KBIC tribal member residing outside the state of Michigan. In correspondence, the Treasury has sent us emails. This program will end June 30th. They will, however, look at our highest quarter and allow us to have that till September 30th. September 30th is a complete cutoff. And we have a lot of people who have applied that are hitting the 15 month cutoff. We also have a few people that are calling from outside. Like a very nice person from Oklahoma called, and she said that when she applied in Oklahoma, they kept telling her, well, call your tribe, call your tribe. That wasn't nice. And she's very polite, calls and asks about it. We had a few other ones that have called, but,
How much money got left?
let's see. I don't know what we've got committed right now, but the last financial or what Jody had given us was 1.3, so we have quite a bit left. What they're gonna do though, is they're gonna look at what our highest quarter is, and currently our highest quarter was 316,000. And that would be for the next 3 months then.
How many people have been utilizing the utilities and stuff?
289 applicants.
So
And
what
we
about
actually-
opening up utilities to everybody?
Because rent was just easier to start out with. What I can do is I looked at state of Michigan, they do a one-time grant. So we could do it that way, but to make everybody turn
Let's
it
add
on their
utilities to
utilities.
everybody in Michigan.
In
One
Michigan?
time, or all over. That's enough money
Well,
to go all over.
it's plenty, but we just finally got an accountant down there, everything's working smoothly right now. So if we did rent, I would come back in 2 weeks with another amendment to that, because I'd also like to, we have 140,000 of what they call ERA 2. They gave us on top of the ERA 1. And that will allow for an additional 3 months to those who got 15 months. But I have to write that into the policy.
So if somebody applies today, what can they get going forward? Thank you. 3 months worth?
The Upper Peninsula of Michigan, or the state of Michigan, or.
If we're talking about opening up to everybody, it's already open to the state of Michigan.
Right.
So we're talking about outside the state of Michigan.
If
So if
you-
somebody applied today, how much could they get?
They could get their,
3 months worth?
yeah, they would apply, they would show the lease, what they owe. Let's say you owe a bunch of back rent, you get that back rent paid, and then you can go up to your current rent, and then your future till September. September is the deadline. on
September,
everything.
okay.
Yeah, they're very adamant, September, don't go past it. They'll honor our obligations that we've done, but you can't go past.
Basically
September.
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months.
Is there, do people have to show like they're working or anything, or?
No, they have to show financial hardship.
That's
what
our
the
test,
program.
right?
Yep, we have attestations, and they actually are written in the, I took the same attestations and put them into the half one also. I just kept them similar. You have to show financial hardship.
On the ERAP policy, I make a motion to include rent only for KBIC members outside of the state of Michigan and to look into the utility payment for the state of Michigan.
Including the,
You said you're gonna look into.
I'll bring that back to you.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
good. We can go out, the whole state of Michigan, outside the state of Michigan, the tribal members anywhere,
Yeah. Like Oklahoma, there's one particular woman,
Florida.
yeah. Just can't be in like Canada or Mexico. Has to be the United States. And the
Motion
travel.
by Eddie, supported by Liz, to approve the ERAP policy amendment, rental and KBIC tribal members residing outside the state of Michigan, and to bring back the utilities.
Right.
All of those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstaining, motion carries.
The state of Michigan does a one-time grant with utilities. I would do that.
Yeah. Let's move that one.
I got that next week.
Spend it up
Come
so
back to
people-
the money.
Yeah.
spend it up so people can get back to work.
So weird. Sometimes people's rent is so high, you're surprised what you see. The next thing is the draft policy and application on, I think it was August 25th, 2021. Council, and I included this in the pack. These are the general guidelines that were included with Treasury, with the budget and our program for approval. It was different. ERAP, they just handed us money, told us, create your program. With the homeowners assistance fund, they wanted to see the programs, what you budgeted, and then they approved it. So they did approve it, and then before you know is the policy, which basically spells out how we disperse it. The homeowners assistance fund application, the checklist, and then I also included the homeowners assistance fund income limits by HUD. And they're pretty generous, 100% and then 150%. They require 60% of the program to be 100% and then 40% can be over.
Sometimes national median income is used and sometimes area, so it kind of, the guidelines say area, but then in the policy it says, well, what's your understanding?
I understand that we're gonna go by HUD.
That allows you to do the national or the area, whatever is the best benefit of the applicant.
And what I did was I put Veritas in here because when you click on it, it's gonna ask the counties. And we did the Upper Peninsula of Michigan on our guidelines. So maybe Marquette is different than Chippewa County or Veritas County. So I just had put in Veritas so that everybody could look at that.
So are you gonna base it off of the projected income or the HUD policy allows you to use the tax return which shows their last year's income.
Yeah, we could use that one. And I forgot my, I forgot.
So they don't have to show current pay stubs or anything like that.
No.
You could use that route if you wanted to.
You can. You have to show us something. And if you don't have an income, there's where your financial hardship on page
So
3 is.
the idea is you could use last year's income or this year's income, whatever is the best benefit of the applicant. So if last year your income was lower than this year, you could use the last year's. If this year is lower than last year, you could use this year's income.
All right, you can just show
You
your
use
tax
that for your
return.
programs too.
That's, well, HUD specifically allows you to use that to whatever's the best for the applicant as long as it's one of those methods. Right, Tori?
It's acceptable document.
Yeah.
And we do, we have people who bring their SSI in that way, they'll bring in a tax return, or they'll bring in a check stub.
Because unfortunately, one of the programs I run makes you do both last year's and this year's. It's a pain in the ass. So I like to prefer just the way HUD's model is one or the other, whatever's best for them.
And then it's pretty broad, if you look on the form checklist, I have proof of any household income, so what you turn in.
Yeah. Motion to approve the homeowners assistance fund policy as presented.
Motion by Eddie, supported by Randy, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstaining, motion carries.
And then just really quickly, I'll sit down with Jody and we'll, because we have to work with the county on this kind of stuff, we kind of got drowned in there for a little bit in ERAP. So we'll figure out how to, what day that they'll be processing the homeowner assistance fund, you don't want banks waiting for this kind of stuff. So next week I'll sit down with her, and then on June 27th, we'll open the program up. We'll
Yeah,
put
that's
it-
what I was looking for. What day should I tell you?
June 27th.
That day,
Yep.
not to come sending
Well-
applications until then.
Right, we'll put it out at the front, we'll put it out at the front desk, we'll put it out on the travel website. We'll just put
Well,
it
that gets
so-
into the question of what documents they actually need, because my goal is to try to keep it as simple as possible and not overburden them with document requests. And yeah, is that as simple as we can make it?
That's pretty
Not
simple.
your checklist is only, start collecting it.
So if somebody asks you, all applicants must have their mortgage information or
It's
their,
the information that's applicable, so if you're asking for principal reduction, you just need a mortgage statement, you don't need all of the other stuff.
no, and it does say that, all applicable documents needed for programs, I put some.
Yeah, okay, that's what that means.
Yeah, so if it's, you have property tax and issue, that's what you would put in there, or
If
insurance.
you're not dealing with property taxes, you don't have to
No,
turn in that. If you're
no,
not dealing with
no.
insurance or utilities, you don't have to turn
Jerry,
in
can you touch a little bit on the home repairs?
Oh, homeowner
Is it part of it?
displacement?
Yes.
Right, homeowner displacement is a program that if you need something fixed because of it, or repaired, or you cannot live there. I'll give an example, somebody's sewer line went, and it backed into their basement, knocked out their furnace. It was quite a bit of money, but that's availability is what it is. If you couldn't fix that sewer line problem, they couldn't live in
that. No
that.
heat, no hot water,
Yep.
things like that.
Yeah, your roof's coming off, because, we've had quite a few terrible storms, so, you've got.
So the problem with that is that we're requiring 3 bids. Can we just make that simpler, because we know how hard it is to get 1 bid, right?
Attempts, maybe I can change that to attempts, because what we've been doing, let's say you've asked
Yeah, 'cause-
5 different people and only 1 came because they're all right in the middle of everything.
They're not gonna give you
Right,
bids, right?
so if
That's a
you
big
show that,
handicap.
I
Please.
put out,
That's
I've
my
asked
amendment to
for,
that motion is to approve that with that, just 3 attempts. Or
3
at least
attempts?
1 bid.
All right.
1 bid, but 3 attempts. And that's just making a call to Bianco and say, hey, can I get a bid? And they tell you, no, I'm busy.
and they do,
Okay,
that's what they
mark
say.
that down. Because that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. All right, I'll change from 3 bids for proposed repair project to 1 bid with 3 attempts, at
That's
least
gonna be
1
a
bid
lot.
with 3 attempts. But we do that now because
Okay, I
it's
just wanna make that clear.
impossible sometimes for people just to get 1 bid. An elder, I swear she called the whole western half of the UP trying to get a bid, and she finally found one.
And they have to be a licensed contractor.
License or a tribal one, you have to have insurance. They will do your W-9, sometimes people don't want to do that, and they have to understand that. You have to have a W-9,
The person doing the work
Yeah,
has to
the
have
person,
insurance.
yes. And Adam's really good at doing this one, so, right up front.
So they don't have to be township licensed, they just have to have insurance?
Let's say they have a travel business.
Well, they have a
travel-
license, they have a traffic license then.
Yeah, well, you should.
It's not a state of Michigan contractor's license.
No,
If
there's
you
a
wanna make
difference,
that
that's what I
distinction.
mean, yeah. That's what I mean by travel business or travel, we have a lot of carpenters that, they're retiring and they.
The program that the Federal Home Loan Bank runs is that as long as they're capable and competent, the homeowner takes that responsibility. That program that I run doesn't require licensed contractors, but I stress that they have to be capable and competent, you take responsibility for it. Because it's hard to find licensed contractors that will
You don't
respond.
want somebody left high and dry.
Right.
With a half-done project here
Right.
and.
I've had 2 people that had to send back money because they couldn't get the contractors to respond. Try to make it easy as we can, but be, safe and reputable.
So this is what we put on the, travel site then. And, I was actually gonna send some to the banks, they've been calling, so.
So where's the service area then, everywhere?
The Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
The Upper Peninsula, look at your,
I don't
yeah.
think the guideline says it, but I don't think the policy actually
I was
says
trying to
it.
find it.
You have that, your last one in there, it says general guidelines.
That was what we
Yeah.
submitted to Treasury for
Yeah.
approval. So the policies, so that's the original document.
Tribal member, income eligible requirements, qualified hardship, and submit your written attestation, which is already in your application. You must own and occupy the property as your primary residence, so it can't be your camp, or wanting paid. Homeowner must reside in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So this is the one that we'll put with the on the website so people understand this.
So that concludes our business for today. I'll entertain a motion to
Any
adjourn.
other questions?
Thank you, Doris.
Motion by Amy, supported by Liz to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstaining, motion carries. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
There's no meetings scheduled.
There's a lady tomorrow.
Is there? That's what I was wondering, because I heard RU say tomorrow.
It was scheduled last week.
It's, email sent out.
Should be done by noon.